All right, sorry for the momentary delay, but we'll go ahead and we'll begin our meeting for tonight. So I'd like to welcome everyone to this meeting of Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is created by the statutes of the state of Illinois and by the ordinances of the Village of Skokie for the purpose of granting proper case relief from the strict terms of our zoning ordinances. The decision of this board to either grant or deny relief will be based upon the evidence presented to it and how that evidence is related to the standards for granting relief. All persons who have an interest in a case, either as a petitioner or as a member of the public, either supporting or opposing the petition, or as an independent witness, will be given a chance to speak on the record and to express his or her points of view. The Zoning Board of Appeals is not a court of law, and therefore, we do not follow the strict rules of evidence. However, this hearing will be conducted in such a manner as to hear only competent evidence or statements. Questions as to procedure, interpretation, and of the admissibility of evidence or statements will be ruled upon by Corporation Counsel Tyler Kabilski, and his legal decisions will be binding upon this board. Certain cases require covenant running with the land. This will be prepared and recorded by the Village of Skokie Legal Department, and this is done at the petitioner's expense. Whether or not a covenant is required is a determination to be made by the Corporation Counsel at the conclusion of each individual case. If a covenant running with the land is required, it cannot or will not be prepared until our court reporter has returned to the Zoning Board of Appeals a transcript of these proceedings. The Village of Skokie will notify each petitioner when a covenant has been prepared and is ready for signature. No building permits can be applied for or issued until the covenant is signed by the petitioner. Should a petition for variation be denied, or should a covenant not be required, the Board of Trustees will authorize a refund of any required fees. Should it be necessary for the petitioner to request a continuance due to a lack of preparation, a case continuation fee of 1/2 of the original application fee is due prior to the rehearing date. This request must be made before any testimony begins. All petitioners must receive a vote of the majority of the zoning board present in order to decide any matter under consideration. Our full complement is 9 members. Tonight's complement is 9 members, making 5 votes necessary to make a determination on a petition. Tonight we have one case, and that's case 2019-06Z, 4001 Davis Street. And in that particular case, I will ask Corporation Counsel, has proper notice been served and notarized?
Notice is proper and correct.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And before we go into tonight's case, we have a little housework to do, and that's basically approving the minutes of our prior meeting, which was on July 3rd. We had 2 cases that night, 2019-04Z, 9323 Central Park Avenue, and 2019-05Z, 7635 Kenton Avenue. And let's see, both variations were, requests for variation were approved unanimously. So if everybody's had a chance to read them and there's no further questions about the minutes, then the chair will entertain the motion to approve the minutes as is.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as they are.
All right, great. Commissioner Perlin, thank you very much. Do I hear a second? All right, Commissioner Shaw seconds it. Thank you very much. All in favor, voice vote, please.
Yes.
Aye. Yes.
Okay, anybody opposed? No? Okay, great. The minutes are approved. Thank you, Marlene, as always. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll move forward with our case for the evening. So if the petitioners would like to step up to the podium, we will go ahead and Commissioner Gersner is, or I should say Vice Chairman Gersner is presenting tonight's case. So Alan, if you are ready, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Excuse me. It's been a long week. Okay. So, case number 2019-06Z, 4001 Davis Street, Joseph and Sheila, is it Lejeune? Lejeune?
Correct.
Request a variation in order to construct an addition resulting in a rear yard of 8.5 feet rather than the 24.56 foot minimum as required by section 118-1247A of the Skokie Village Code in an R1 single-family district. Okay, we have a petitioner statement. The petitioners, Joseph and Sheila Lejeune, seek a zoning variation for a rear yard setback relief in order to construct a new two-story addition to their current residence located at the above referenced address, 4001 Davis Street. The required rear yard setback for this property is 20% of the overall lot depth, 122.79 feet times .20 equals 24.554 feet, or roughly 24 feet, 6.5 inches. Proposed setback is 8 feet, 6 inches below the statements that support the case for this proposed variation to the zoning ordinance. One, the site which the existing building is located was originally intended to be a corner lot. However, the original front yard street, Davis Street, was vacated and Crawford Avenue remains the front yard street. This impacts the orientation of the setbacks as the house faces north toward Davis Street, yet this is considered the side yard. Number two, because the resident's original orientation is rotated 90 degrees from the current setback configuration, an existing nonconformity is established along the west rear yard. This was intended to be the side yard, yet it has become the rear yard. As a result, a nonconformity is already established as the building is encroaching into this space by more than 8 feet. The proposed addition seeks to increase this by less than 8 feet. If this project were proposed as a ground-up new construction, the setbacks would not be a hindrance. However, the existing house was situated as it was because the original setbacks were in place. Number four, a proposed addition to the east front yard of the property would be much less successful or practical design. Primary factors in the design of the proposed addition are the enlargement of the existing one-car garage, which is located at the west, and adding new living space above the existing one-story living space. The overall result of this approach would not be feasible if an eastern addition were proposed. Number five, there is an existing easement that was originally intended to be a 16-foot right-of-way for a public alley along the west edge of the property. This would have been the side yard. Because Davis Street was never extended, this alley was vacated, yet the easement remains. The proposed addition to the residence seeks to build out 8 feet 6 inches, respecting the limits of this easement. Since there are no other buildings to the west of the property, this variation from the zoning ordinance would not create a precedent. Signed by Joseph and Sheila Lejeune, homeowners, 4001 Davis Street, Skokie. Okay, and there was no fire objections had, fire department had no objections. The civil engineering is in favor of vacating the 10-foot right-of-way north of the subject site. Community development has no objections. And if it is approved, ComEd must approve the location of the addition because of the overhead power lines.
Very good.
Okay?
All right.
Sounds like a Abbott and Costello act. The west and the side and the left and the right.
Who's on first? What's on second?
They really put you through the ringer on this, didn't they?
Yeah, but we're working through it.
All right, good.
Okay.
All done?
All done.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
May I have your name and spell it so we have it for the record, sir?
Joseph Lejeune, Lajeune.
Just like the camp in North Carolina, right?
Spelled a little differently, but yes.
Pronunciation's the same.
Yes.
Got it, okay. And the gentleman that you're here with tonight?
Jason Osborne, architect.
Jason Osborne.
Osborne.
Okay. If you would, just raise your hands real quick, please. Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge or belief? Please answer in the affirmative.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Go ahead then, Mr. Lejeune, and please tell us why we're here tonight.
Well, good evening. I'm here to add an addition to an existing property that I purchased 10 years ago. It's located at 4001 Davis. It's on the corner of Davis and Crawford. It's on the corner of Davis and Crawford. Davis is at the top, and Crawford is actually on your right of the screen. Originally, right, there you go, that's much better. So this is the property here. This is Crawford, which is the main artery through that area. And this is the vacated street, which is Davis, that was vacated decades prior that I purchased the property. So the idea is, originally this was the front of the property, which is now different, rotated to Davis, which is the vacated street. My setback from the front here would only allow me to expand at the most 8 feet. But then this is where the main house is located, where all the bedrooms, etc. And for design purposes, it wouldn't make much design sense to expand into that space. And really, the main reason why we're doing this renovation is because I have an elderly mother. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Lejeune, if you would. Your dialogue, when you're up at the screen, may not be captured on tape because we
Understood.
are running on video. Is there a pointer, laser pointer, or anything like that, Bri? If not, that's okay.
But that's
No,
fine.
you don't think
Just-
so? Okay.
I guess just the reason why we all get twisted with this is we keep talking north and south, where north was the original location entrance of the street until Davis was vacated. So once Davis is vacated, now the north became, east was the original location. Now north is the front of the home.
Who's on first?
As a corner property, we were restricted by these setbacks. But now that the north side of the street becomes the front entrance, our only design option is really to expand where the west side of the property faces. So the one-car garage on the left is the part that we intend to move forward by adding a two-car garage and then expand forward and backwards on the north and south end to capture the space that we need for this expansion. And I don't know if I originally mentioned the regional, the purpose of this renovation is because I have an elderly mother that I'm looking to move in with me, and that would acquire us the additional space necessary to make that happen.
All right, very, very commendable. Yeah, I understand your plight there a little bit. That all being said, we'll let Commissioner Gerstner give his impressions on the case.
So, let me ask you, the street that was vacated, Davis,
Correct.
is that west?
It's north.
It's north.
Yeah.
So there's a house behind you that's to the south of you,
Correct.
and then
Another house north of me.
another okay. So,
So across the street, or the vacated Davis, there's my nearest neighbor.
okay,
And then to the left, west, I have these other two properties.
okay. And then this street over
That's
here
Crawford.
is Crawford.
This curb cut here is where the Davis Street right-of-way would have been. So through
And
here.
then the,
The alley would have gone north-south through here.
okay, and that yard is actually on Crawford.
The front yard here, yes. This
Okay.
is the zoning front yard. But when you enter the house, you approach through, from Crawford, you turn onto the driveway, which is the vacated Davis Street. Thank you. And then the driveway is here. So this is the front of the house that runs east-west parallel to Davis.
Which is
Okay.
why it's 4001 Davis Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the building was constructed as if Davis Street went through and was wider east to west, as opposed to being built as an interior lot being pushed further up towards Crawford with a typical backyard. That's why this is such a unique situation, is because the building clearly, every indication, the building was built with corner setbacks and with a rear yard of approximately 16 feet currently right now, which would violate the interior setback. Once Davis Street was vacated, even though technically by the ordinance, the building should probably have not been built like this because it was never a true corner at the intersection of two streets. It was built like this with with a wider frontage to the north, like a typical corner lot may have been. But when Davis Street when a majority of Davis Street right-of-way was vacated, 28 of the 66-foot right-of-way, 28 feet went south, 28 feet went north, and there's a 10-foot strip in the center that remained public. Public Works never improved it, putting in a sidewalk. Further west they did. In this case, they did not. So the building really was built as if you would look other typical corner lots, longer frontage on the side street instead of the frontage towards the main street, per se.
Is that a basketball court there?
Yes.
Who put
Well,
that in?
it's the petitioner paid for a permit to pave it. So they were given the 4001 Davis and the lot to the north were given, was it an asphalt or cement permit?
Asphalt.
Yeah, and they painted it.
Oh, I was gonna say, did Park District put in a basketball court? Okay,
So
thank you.
just
Now
to
I'm thoroughly
clarify then,
confused.
what's in
It's
question
okay.
is the setback on the west side.
Correct.
And if that were treated as a side yard, it would be okay, but it's treated as a rear yard.
It technically is a rear yard. If this was a corner lot, the proposed addition would be able to be built by right, but because it's technically not a corner lot, but was constructed as such, now that they're proposing to expand to the west by so many feet, they need relief because technically this is an interior lot, which requires the 20% depth of the lot, the setback, to have a backyard. But the building clearly was constructed with the intent of being a corner lot, longer frontage along what would have been Davis Street.
Right, and the west side would have been a side yard.
No, the west side still would be a rear yard,
Okay.
but would have been allowed to have a 5-foot rear setback, a 5-foot
Okay.
rear yard
Okay.
setback.
So rear yard, but it would have allowed.
Correct. On corner lots, you are allowed to have a 5-foot rear setback, so you can take advantage of the frontage along the street and have a longer house.
And if the address was on Crawford, it would have been brought up farther.
If the building was built as an interior lot, the building most likely would have been pulled up towards Crawford and had a deeper backyard,
Right.
a deeper rear west backyard as an interior lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right. And then nothing, but this was not the petitioner's fault. It was
originally built and allowed by Skokie to be built as a corner lot, assuming that the Davis Street right-of-way would have been improved as a street and became an official corner lot.
So, and it never was, so
Correct.
it didn't, and then
When Davis was
everything-
vacated, this rear yard technically became non-conforming.
and it just blew up the whole lot. Okay,
Yeah, the ability to actually add on became much more restricted due to the Davis vacation and Davis Street not going in.
I have a question for the petitioner, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner Salvi,
Will
please.
this affect any of the trees on, I was there yesterday, will it affect any of the trees on a property when you do the construction?
None.
Not, the trees will stay?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for petitioner at all? I just want to say, Brian, that was like an awesome description of, you gave us like a complete history of that lot, which was like really exemplary. That's why I keep saying, and I'll say it again in public, I think our staff is the best around. They're extremely knowledgeable, professional, and what Brian just illustrated here about the history of this building here at 4001 Davis Street is totally awesome, so.
And I would second that. In fact, when I started this process, I was ignorant of all those facts.
Yeah.
And he actually took the time to walk me through it as I was in contact with the architect and the others. So I do commend him for his
Yeah. Yeah,
knowledge.
that's,
as well.
Yeah, it definitely is a unique lot there's a unique history to this property that you do not see at other locations in town. There's definitely uniqueness there.
yeah, and you knew it, you knew it 100%, so, which is awesome. Okay, Mr. Osborne, anything you want to say in this case?
Nothing else to add.
Okay.
Just, another commendation for Brian, though. Like I said, he pointed that out right away. That's, even as an architect, look, that's the first thing that we look into is setbacks and where we can build and what, and you would assume the front yard would be where your garage is, where it's facing the street. It's even has the address referenced in it, but, yeah, that's clearly not the case here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing which was noted in our staff report in our packet was the concern about ComEd with the utility right away.
Right.
Is that something you're working on with?
Yes,
with them?
yes. I have a case in a project file already with ComEd.
Okay.
I'm scheduled to meet with an engineer that will examine the property and give me some options on how to work that piece out.
Yeah, that was staff's only concern, really looking at the addition. Our electrical inspector / electrical plan reviewer was a little concerned that if it wasn't addressed ahead of time, that if they were under construction and someone from ComEd drove by, that we'd be afraid they'd shut down the site if there wasn't proper protection on the wires and such like that. So
Yeah.
we just want to kind of get that done ahead of time before the project goes any further, just to make sure, ComEd's needs are met.
Yeah, right, yeah, we don't want any interruption and, because that's something that could probably directly affect your neighbors and stuff like that, so. All right, great, because, we can go ahead and possibly approve your request, but then if ComEd says no, then there's nothing that we can do about that, so.
course.
So that's something you have to work out with ComEd on an individual basis, so.
Well,
okay.
and just to clarify, Brian, is the concern with ComEd protection of the wires during construction, or is this something more permanent?
The proximity of the addition to the overhead wires that run north-south, whether ComEd has specific requirements for protection during construction or the actual setback from the actual overhead wires to the addition, it's something ComEd really has to sign off on with the proximity. It might just be certain protection requirements during construction.
I'm done. I'm quick.
Okay, all right, great. Any other questions for the petitioner or staff or anything? If not, the only other thing I'd like to say, I think that's awesome what you did with the basketball court. Is that something that you and your neighbor to the north did together, or?
Yeah, we collaborated on the proposal. However, she's 90 years old, so she doesn't get a chance to play on it. But my kids obviously do.
Right.
Do
I mean,
enjoy
she doesn't
having
have a really hot free throw shot?
Yeah, right. No, that's probably the best use of a vacated village property I've ever seen in my days,
Yeah.
so.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if there's nothing else, the chair will entertain a motion.
Well, I just want to tell you that, of no fault of your own, you've got a house that doesn't fit the requirements. Well, we'll fix that tonight. Mr. Chairman, I propose the following in the granting of a variance to the petitioner as follows: that Joseph and Sheila Lejeune are the owner of the lot described in case number 2019-06Z for the property located at 4001 Davis Street, Skokie, Cook County, Illinois. That said lot is a plotted lot of record, is abutted by single-family dwellings on the south. That a determination has been made in which the petitioner's request is consistent with the majority of the findings of fact as stated in the Village of Skokie zoning chapter. I therefore propose a variance to be granted to the petitioner for giving failure to comply with the requirements of the zoning ordinance of the Village of Skokie as amended as to rear yard requirements, that the petitioner be granted the variance to construct an addition resulting in a rear yard of 8.5 feet rather than the 24.56-foot minimum as required by Section 118-1247A of the zoning chapter of the Village of Skokie Code in an R1 single-family district, that all other codes and ordinances of the Village of Skokie shall be fully and strictly complied with.
Okay.
Do we want to add the comment as a condition, because that's not a village code?
It's
That's-
not, and I don't know if, council?
I don't think we need to.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't think we need to make that a condition, because what ComEd's requirements are totally and separately, from what we're dealing with here tonight, so,
And considering we have no control over that,
yes, yeah. We can't tell ComEd what to do.
or you
So-
can try, but.
We can try, we won't get very far, though, I'm afraid, so, yeah, I think we're all good. So Corporation Council says we're good, so we're good. So I have a motion to approve without conditions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Perlin seconds the motion. So the chair will go ahead and call the roll then. Let's see, Commissioner Salovey,
Aye.
Commissioner Arden,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Aye.
Commissioner Gersner.
Aye.
Let's see, Commissioner Beverly,
Aye.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
and Commissioner Perlin.
Yes.
Okay, and the chair will vote aye. So in the matter of 2019-06Z, the request for variation has been approved unanimously. Congratulations, and we'll let Corporation Council tell you what you need to know from here on out.
We're going to prepare the covenant running with the land, and when it's prepared, we'll contact you for the property owner's signature. Should probably be ready in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and good luck with your project. I hope your mother finds it well-suited to her taste.
There's one open item, if you don't mind. We mentioned the vacated Davis, that 10-foot strip. I think it might have been mentioned in the narrative here. The concern is about this said basketball court that was built. It was built, I guess, on that 10-foot strip. It's
Yeah,
something that we want to address.
There's still a 10-foot strip that's technically ours, it's still technically public property. The engineering division is in favor of vacating that. During one of our staff discussions, planning at this point seems to be on board with also vacating this. This is something that would be staff initiated, that you would not have to initiate. At this point, we know that we might do a little bit more of a comprehensive review of some of the other strips that we have that aren't improved, that are grass in some cases. So at this point, this is on staff to look into further and initiate this. But most likely, I would assume within the next 6 months to a year that we would be proposing to do this area and certain other strips in town and try to do one comprehensive vacation to the neighbors. But this would be on staff at this point.
Right, so Brian,
Thank you.
just to clarify then, there was a permit to pave with asphalt and paint this, so there's no danger of somebody coming along and saying, hey, you shouldn't have done this.
No, the engineering division signed off on the permit to repave it. We didn't want to leave it in disrepair, and Public Works Department had no plans to make any improvements on the 10-foot strip. So the engineering division gave them a permit to repave the entire area on both properties.
Does that suffice?
Fair enough.
All right, great. Okay, well, thanks again, and good luck with your project.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Okay, that was good. So other than that, the only thing we have to address is our next meeting, and our meeting of August 7th, as I see in our packet, has been canceled, but we will be having a meeting on August 21st.
That is correct, at least 2 cases.
At least two
We have
cases.
two on the docket right now, possibly a third.
And possibly a third?
Possibly, I
Yeah,
can't
okay. So,
guarantee.
right. Yeah.
3 cases.
I've just been notified that Commissioner Gerstner and Commissioner Kirkpatrick will not be here. So-
If there's a third, I believe the first case would be assigned to Commissioner Jacobson, second case to Commissioner Pearl, and if a third, it would go to Commissioner Roos Kirkpatrick. We would then bump that to Commissioner Shaw if the third does come in and applies.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay, great. Well, in that case, we'll see everybody back here on August 21st, and this meeting of the Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals is adjourned. Thank you very much.